This is Al Jazeera. I'm Darine Abougaida in Doha with a developing story out of Thailand. We're getting reports that the first two members of the trapped Thai soccer team may have been recovered from the cave. Scott Heidler joining us from Chiang. What are you hearing, Scott?
Darine, well, we're actually hearing that there's three boys who have made their way out of the cave, been rescued from this cave after 2 weeks and a day. This is coming from a military source, and we're also hearing that the Interior Minister has informed the Prime Minister, and the Interior Minister is actually on the way to the field hospital at the mouth of the cave. Now, that's something that was set up, days and days ago. Three boys, we're being told, are in that hospital being assessed as to exactly what their medical condition is. There's been a chief doctor on staff. He is seeing them now. The Interior Minister is either there now or still on his way. And then once it's determined their health, their injuries, then they'll decide how quickly and in what form of transportation will they go to the hospital in Chiang Rai, provincial capital, which is about 60 kilometers from here. Now, there are a couple of, over this shoulder is where the mouth of the cave is. That's where the boys came out. And over on this shoulder, there's a helipad. A helicopter's been, but we can hear it from here. It's been on, I'd say, for the last 15, 20 minutes. So what they're going to determine is the severity of the injuries for these three boys and decide how quickly they need to get them to Chiang Rai Hospital, which is, again, about 60 kilometers away, about an hour drive by ambulance. So they're determining that, and then they'll get them out and get them care straight away. Now, what we don't know is how many more boys are in this first grouping that started about 8-9 hours ago. The rescue operation started about 8-9 hours ago. We don't know how many more in that grouping. We're thinking it's probably two. We don't really have any indication now when they might be coming out, the additional members of this group. But right now, we're being told by military sources, Interior Minister on his way to the mouth of the cave, if not already there. Three boys are out.
So can we assume then if the first group comes out safely, then they will be assuming the same exact methods for the next groups?
I would think so. I mean, when you look at, the situation, the severity of the dives that they have to go through and the terrain, you would imagine that the conditions haven't changed dramatically. We had some rain today, but we haven't had torrential downpour like we saw, I'd say, 10 days ago, where it was just raining all the time, all day and all night. We haven't seen that today. So using that as evidence, it means that most likely the conditions in the cave haven't changed that much. In other words, those areas that the group that just came out experienced that were flooded are probably still flooded, yes, but has it risen, the level risen? Probably not, because there hasn't been that much rain. And, we know now that there were two sections that they had to dive through that were completely flooded, and one that was flooded before isn't anymore, so they're able to hike that out. So you have two dives, and then once they get to chamber 3, that was kind of like a way station, if you will, for rescuers operating inside the cave. We were hearing once they made it to that stage, they hiked all the way out of the cave, and that's about 3 kilometers. So, yeah, it seems as though if this went successfully, and it sounds like it did, 2 boys are already out, that you'd think that they would go the same way and at the same pace. But again, there could be some changes that have gone on in the cave, good, bad, indifferent. But right now, you would imagine that they have now at least gone through, so they have best practices, so they know what didn't work, what was more challenging. And so most likely, we'll hopefully see a couple more boys come out over the next couple of hours, and then, yes, they'll start again with the next group. Now, we're hearing this could take 3 to 4 days. So we're seeing the merits of this first rescue mission. 3 boys out and now in the field hospital here at the mouth of the cave.
And I suppose a lot of people holding their breath, Scott, to see what condition those boys are in, because let's not forget they've been in that cave fairly weak for more than 10 days now.
Absolutely, yeah. It was 2 weeks in a day, 15 days, 15 nights in that cave. And we know that, some of them were pretty weak. They were malnourished, obviously. It was Monday when they were discovered. They haven't really been eating that much solid food. Initially, they were getting high-energy gel, high-protein gel that they were eating, because you can't just go straight into solid food after not having any food for so many days. We know that they've been trying to build their strength over these days before they were going to make a rescue attempt. And we know that the boys, 12 boys and their coach, the 25-year-old coach, had different degrees of malnutrition, different degrees of health. We know that some of them started to feel the impact of oxygen deprivation inside that cave. It wasn't to an emergency level, a dangerous level, but we know that the oxygen level in that part of the cave where the boys were started to decrease. That was another concern that really kind of instigated the quick move of this rescue effort that we've seen today. Now, also, in other sections of the cave, we also know that the oxygen level started to decrease, particularly in that the caverns that I was talking about, where a lot of those rescuers were staging equipment and kind of operating from inside the cave. There was worry that not only for the boys' oxygen level in their part of the cave, but also for the rescuers in there. So that put another kind of impetus, if you will, to get these boys out and get them out quickly.
Yeah, Scott, and speaking of the rescuers, we know that there are 13 foreign divers, and there are 5 Thai Navy SEALs. What are the risks for them in this massive operation?
High risk, absolutely. Just a couple of days ago, a Navy SEAL diver, a former Navy SEAL diver who came back to help with this effort, he died from a lack of oxygen. There was something that went on with his tank, or he was in the water too long, so he passed out in the water, was dragged out, tried to be resuscitated, couldn't, and he died. So obviously the dangers for the divers are immense. And when you think about now, what they've been doing over the last, just under 2 weeks, is really try to make this passage as safe as possible. That means it was very, very dangerous before they started to probably chip away some rock of low-hanging bits when they were the sections where they had to dive. So it's very dangerous work for them. And also now, even now, when they're diving with the boys, we're told that there are 2 divers with each boy. It's 2 plus 1, if you will. So 2 divers per each boy. So you've got one with the oxygen tank kind of helping the boy go through, and then you've got another one also assisting in that process. Now, we know that there's communication between them, because one of the bigger concerns when they started training the boys on the basics of diving was the panic factor. That's something that diving experts have been talking about for days. This is, for a brand new diver, there's the panic factor to begin with, but a cave dive with very low visibility and very tight quarters, obviously there's a bigger panic factor. So they were really worried about that, and what's important for that is communication. So all the diving experts were saying that there needs to be communication between those buddy divers and the boy himself. So obviously that is something that they're concerned about. So you've got this very complex, very technical dive that these divers are doing. They've already gone in, so they already have a dive under their belt, if you will, for the day, and then they have to really kind of go slowly and protect this boy as they dive all the way back. Again, a very technical dive. So it's very dangerous for the divers, and this is something that they've been very proud. The mission commander here saying that these 13 foreign divers are some of the best in the world, and the 5 Thai Navy SEALs are the best Thai Navy SEAL divers. So they put together, they say, the best team possible to bring these boys out.
Just take us back for a moment, Scott, while I have you with us, and remind us how this all came about.
Well, it all started on June 23rd. The boys were playing, they're part of the Wild Boars soccer club here. They were having a practice match on Saturday, June 23rd. And what they've done several times before, they took kind of a team-building recreational hike through the cave, which is very, very close to where their soccer field is. And in fact, that helipad, that temporary helipad that I was saying that the boys who are out now might be transported from, is their football field. And I can hear the helicopter right now. So they played the practice match, and then they went into the caves. And then there were torrential rains, and their exit was blocked. And actually, I'm hearing a helicopter, I believe, taking off now. And that's the first time we heard a helicopter actually take off. Yes, I can see it over here. It was one of the bigger Thai military helicopters that was on that helipad that was the boys' football pitch. Now, we can't draw too many conclusions, but I would assume that is a medical transport going on right now. Again, that field was very close to right there where the mouth of the cave was, where the field hospital is. So that helicopter just took off now. So going back to that, so on the 23rd, they went into the cave for a hike. 12 team members and the coach, something they've done plenty of times. We spoke to a shop owner who sold them snacks and water before they went in, but just that. They went in, flash floods, torrential rains. Their only exit was blocked off. And then they were missing for quite some time, found by 3 British divers, essentially who were at the end of their rope. We hear stories that they were, because when these divers go in, there are ropes that kind of help them get in and get back out the same way. And they were leading a rope or setting a rope, and they literally only had a couple of feet left, so they So they broke the surface, and the boys were there. So then, since then, they've been trying to figure out a way, the rescue officials and the mission commander have been trying to figure a way to get these boys out. It's gone from everything from us joining rescue teams up in the jungle in these mountains looking for ways down into the cave. We've been told that they were trying to drill in certain ways. They brought up high-tech equipment to find out where there were fissures, where there were natural holes to try to get to these boys. So many options were being looked at. But obviously now it was deemed that the best way to get them out was the way they went in. And there are a couple of factors as to why that most likely was the best way to get them out. Very little rain over the last couple of days, a lot of pumping. Pretty much since the boys, the rescue effort, search and rescue effort at that stage, to find the boys first started, pumping started almost immediately to get the water out, to get the water level low so divers could go in and do their search. That has been continuing straight the way through. And we've heard over the last couple of days that the water went to the best level it has been since this rescue operation started. So that was obviously a major factor for them pulling the trigger on doing this rescue operation today.
Okay, Scott Heidler, we'll leave it there. We thank you. We'll be coming back to you a little later on Scott Heidler giving us the update from Chiang Rai. Now,